Hi, I'm Malik Yoba. You may know me a little better as Detective J.C. Williams on the hit TV show. What's the name of that show, y'all?
You're Gonna Come.
All right. My experience working with young people over the last 10 years has shown me that most of the time, we feel that there are problems that are insurmountable. But education is definitely the way out. And that's what this show is about. In the next hour, we'll introduce to you brothers and sisters who are making moves in the world of business and technology. You'll meet a pilot who flies fighter jets, a sister who manages millions of dollars and thousands of people, a rear admiral who made his way from the Chicago Cabrini Green housing community all the way to becoming one of the highest ranking officers in the Navy. And they all achieved their goals by making education a priority. We'll also talk to students just like yourselves about issues young people face every day and hear how they maintain and deal with today's realities. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Success through education, a salute to Black achievement. That phrase that we hear all the time, self-esteem, what is that? What is self-esteem?
I think it's the way you feel mentally and physically about your whole character and the way you see yourself.
Brian?
Self-esteem is like when you put yourself on a high level and you saying you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it.
So let's talk about some of the causes of low self-esteem.
Your environment, the people that you hang with, if they're not doing right for themselves, how are you going to do right for yourself?
Confusion at home brings on low self-esteem because if your house is not correct, you're not going to feel right because you always return to home. And that has to be at peace before you can do anything.
Low self-esteem, anybody here with high self-esteem? Okay, I see someone who didn't raise their hand. You, young lady. Everyone raised their hand except for you. Why?
I don't know, I just don't have high self-esteem.
Oh, good. We're going to work on you, girl. Come on, let's start with a prayer. No, but that's very interesting. How do you know you don't have high self-esteem?
Because I just don't feel highly about myself, I guess.
All right, I want to try a little experiment with you. Will you stand up, please? Everybody give her a hand. Come on. Now, Ebony, I want you to look at this young lady. What do you see when you look at her?
She's attractive.
Okay. Anybody else? What do you see when you look at this young lady? A very smart individual? Go ahead.
A beautiful Black woman who knows she's going to be somebody one day.
All right. Now, how do you feel right now? Do you believe these people? Now, these people are part of your environment, okay? They said some very positive things to you, about you. You are one with this reality. Do you understand what I mean? When you, from a spiritual place, mental place, emotional place, decide to move from this belief that you have low self-esteem, then your environment changes. And I truly believe that even in your work, in your mind, and in your spirit, as you said, I have low self-esteem, you don't 100% believe that. And that is why your environment reflected something contrary to what you believe about yourself. And an exercise that I like to do, I call it mirror therapy, simply standing in the mirror and having dialogue with yourself. I look in the mirror and go, Malik, how you doing today, man? What you gonna do today, man? You doing all right? I swear to you, because we don't talk to ourselves. But what else can she do?
This is what I always believe. I believe that if you tell yourself that you won't, you won't. If you tell yourself that you can, you work towards, proving yourself right, so to speak, because this time last year, I had a 50 average and all that kind of stuff, but I told myself that I could bring my grades up, and now I'm on the honor roll, So if you tell yourself that you can.
Don't let that slide, man. Don't let that slide, man. Okay. Oh, let's test her out. What did you pick up so far? Name 2 things people said you can do. One thing.
I can do anything I want to do.
One other thing.
I'm intelligent.
What's your name again?
Right, Demetria.
Yep.
Write 10 things that you think you can do or that you think that you can accomplish from this point forward of how you can raise your self-esteem and what things you can accomplish.
What's your name again?
Brandy.
Brandy, give it up for Brandy. Especially with a name like Brandy. I wanna be down. I wanna be down with you.
My parents, you know, my family, all of them had their own little scenarios about how I was going to turn out. You know, I remember my step-grandfather had taken bets that I would be pregnant at 16 and dropped out of school.
We gonna start doing it now.
Sometimes dreams die hard in Southside Chicago, where too often teenage girls are raising kids, playgrounds are turf for games, and lives end all too soon. The odds seem to be against young Sharita Caesar. Even though she traveled far to get a good education, she often witnessed violence on the L train, a painful reminder of where she came from.
And it was probably in high school that was probably the first time that I started feeling left out. I started feeling ashamed of where I was coming from. So I was a girl from the projects. Everybody else had everything given to them. They drove cars to school. They always had money. You know, I was the one that was getting the lunch tokens and having to eat the meal because that may be the meal, depending on what time of the month it was when the check came.
But when Sharita almost lost her hope, a school counselor helped her find her way out of despair.
She pressed my face up against that window, you know, just literally pushed me to the window and said, "When anytime you need motivation, you just look outside your window." And I remember that being a turning point for me, because outside my window in the projects were, you know, girls who were getting molested, guys who were drinking, you know, reefer, like, you know, blowing up from the house. I lived on the second floor. And when I did look out my window, I knew I had a choice.
Sharita's choice was to make the grades to get out of the projects. She graduated in the top 10% of her high school class. Attending college at the Illinois Institute of Technology, she went on to receive a Bachelor of Science and Master's degree in Mechanical Engineering. Her hard work also rubbed off on her mother, who graduated as valedictorian of her business school, breaking a 16-year cycle of welfare.
We'd have our time and we would talk about things. And one morning she told me that she was going to go back to school. And I felt extremely proud about that. I mean, you know, my mom had, at that time we'd been on welfare a long time, and for her to take that kind of move at that point in her life just it inspired me even more.
That inspiration has taken Caesar to Motorola, where she is the Director of Manufacturing, responsible for 1,900 people who build pagers in the U.S., Canada, and Latin America. Her career has taken her worlds away from Southside Chicago.
I get goosebumps, you know, because I feel truly blessed. I think about the background that I came from, the projects, the things that I've seen in my life, the things that I've survived. I mean, everything from skipping bullets on the ground to, you know, being in Chicago, experiencing, you know, prejudice. And I've seen so much. And when I go to another country, and I go to Singapore or China or Malaysia or Tokyo, and I may be the only black in the country that week. I mean, it seems so apparent to me, and I pause and I reflect on how blessed I am. You don't get a second chance. This is it. This is life right now. So when you have dreams, you should have them. You know, you should feel completely excited about the possibility of creating something and dreaming it.
This segment of Success Through Education has been brought to you by the U.S. Navy.
America has recently lost one of its modern pioneers, Secretary of Commerce Ron Brown, who once said he had the best job in Washington. As the first African American to hold the post, he was a living testimony to his commitment, proving that diversity is America's strength. Ron Brown fought for resources to help minority businesses and establish international business relations in South Africa, Ireland, Latin America, Asia, and Europe. His strategies resulted in more than $80 billion of foreign deals for U.S. commerce. At the time of his tragic plane crash, he was seeking economic opportunities between the U.S. and Bosnia. Secretary of Commerce Ron Brown will be sorely missed, but his work and his legacy will live on. What are some of the things that can stop you from getting a good education?
Severe peer pressure. On the other hand, you know, peer pressure is not a word. Not for me, isn't it? Because nothing is going to stop me from getting education, basically.
If you are affected, whether positively or negatively, by what your environment is doing, particularly those who are your peers, that's called what? Peer pressure, right? And so, what are some of the ways that you can deal with that? So you go to school, you don't have all the fly clothes, your hair hasn't been cut in 3 weeks, whatever, you know, your breath still stinks. But, you know, what do you do? How do you deal with that?
I mean, know who you are within yourself, know where your outlook is on life, and know how you feel about yourself, and don't let nobody tell you different.
You, young man, what's your name again? Delavar. How do you handle negative peer pressure?
I don't normally.
You don't handle it, which means what?
Which means I go along with them.
You go along with the negativity?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you share a story with us? One that won't incriminate you, because I might have to arrest you, you know.
A couple years ago, my cousins got me into this gang, and we sold drugs, stole cars, chopped them. We beat up other drug dealers. We did all that. And then one day, we were sitting down on my cousin's porch, and these guys from about 4 blocks back, they came up, did a drive-by. My cousin got shot, and they killed the dog. So that got me out of that, because I was scared to die.
And what do you do now? How old are you?
13.
And you're in 8th grade?
7.
7th grade? And so what is your plan for your life?
Get back in school and...
You're out of school now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how are you going to get back in?
I sure don't know how. They're going to put me back into a new school, and then I'm going to try to do the best I can so I can get into high school.
It's very interesting. If you stay where you are, look at his body language, okay? Holding the head down, sulking, okay? It's a little experiment with you. Why don't you stand up? Give him a hand, come on. Come on, hold your head up high. Hold that afro high, boy. And we're gonna see you at the barbershop in a minute. No, whatever you wanna do, baby. I ain't here to talk about what you look like. You look good to me. You can be president, you can be anything you wanna be, bro. Okay, no, seriously. Right now, this community is gonna help to raise you. That African proverb, it takes a whole village to raise a child. This is your community. We're gonna help raise you right now, okay? We've raised you up from the ground. You're standing tall and firm. Hold that head up high now. Okay.
What I wanted to say is that don't follow your friends if they doing something wrong, like selling drugs or beating up people, because when you get put in jail, your friends can't do anything for you. They might desert you or something like that. And if you get kicked out of school and you can't go back, your friends can't put food on the table. And if you go and you become a drug dealer, you're gonna die. That's all there is to it.
She said, you know, if your friends do something wrong, you know, don't do it. To tell you the truth, they're not your friends. If your friends get you in trouble, stealing cars, selling drugs, stuff like that, then basically they want you to die themselves. You know, they want you behind bars. They ain't gonna take care of you.
You have to be a leader and not a follower. If your friends are going to sell those drugs or sell those cars, you walk the other way, because when you get locked up and you're in jail, they're gonna be gone.
You just have to have self-determination, period. There's nothing else to it. You have to know that you can do this. You can go to school, you can hit them books, you can graduate, you can do what you have to do. And if you end up out of school and you can't get back, get your GED and you move on to college and you do what you have to do. Don't sit back and let nobody get you into trouble. Don't do that. It's about yourself, because nobody's gonna look out for you but you. That's it.
What does that OG stand for on your shirt?
Original gangster.
Say that again?
Original gangster.
So maybe you could start with the clothing you wear. Okay, I don't think you need to be representing that personally. It's not my place to tell you what to do, but I think you could start there. If I wouldn't be naked, I'd take off this shirt and give it to you. but maybe I'll hit you off after the show. And you give me that, and I'm gonna burn it. All right? All right. The other, because you made me think of something. I know you can have a seat now, but hold your head up high when you sit. I know the hair's kind of heavy, but do your thing. No, you have such a bright smile on your face right now. You're beautiful. You know, don't ever shortchange yourself.
You had to have juice to be cool or to be down or whatever. And so that meant you had to be bad. Even though I was hanging out, I always knew there was something better than this.
When Gerald Johnson left Flatbush, New York for corporate America, some people in the old neighborhood may have thought he sold out. But by not giving in to peer pressure, Johnson is now able to put millions of dollars in communities, much like the one he grew up in.
My world is all about taking care of business.
Every day I cover a lot of ground. You see, my job is downtown, my lady uptown, and crosstown, my partners.
The tonality and the feel of it, I think, is very positive. It's very effective.
As business relations manager for Mobil Oil Corporation, Johnson works with minority-owned ad agencies to ensure that Mobil gives Latinos and African Americans a voice in their advertising.
When I first started this job 2 years ago, we didn't have any African American or Latino TV, radio. We didn't have anything.
Titled Tales from the Hood, and this has to do with Dwayne.
It's really, really nice to see your stuff out on the street, stuff that you fought for in the corporation, because nothing comes easily. Nobody gives you anything, and so you have to fight. And you have to fight for your people, you have to fight for yourself. And when you see that out in the street, that means you've won one of the battles. You didn't win the war, but you won one little teeny battle, and that feels pretty good.
But more important than the image in advertising is the reality cropping up in communities across the country. Minority entrepreneurs.
Hey, how you doing, Phil? What's going on, man? How's it going? How's it going? All right, how's it going?
Welcome to Mobil, brother. How you doing today?
Thank you.
Right.
Looking good. Place looking good.
Keep it in shape.
Developing and overseeing a $45 million finance program, Johnson has helped many African Americans, Latinos, and women start their own businesses in the service station industry.
Now, I have an opportunity to help African Americans get into a service station. When you see one in there and he's making money and then he has a whole slew of black employees, you feel pride because you know those folks are making a lot of money. I mean, they're not making $50,000 a year. They could be making $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year. And, when you're making $200,000 a year, this society says you're in the upper 1% of the population in terms of income. And that's pretty cool because you could be helping to make black millionaires.
Although Gerald Johnson has found success miles away from the streets he used to hang out on, the peer pressure that haunted him as a child is always just around the corner.
You don't want to be perceived as not fitting in, because even in corporate America, there's pressure. In society in general, there's peer pressure. Only person who's going to do anything about anything is you. You sitting in that chair watching me or me. Each person's got to teach somebody, and each person's got to do something for their own race. And if we don't, shame on you. Shame on you, because you're buying into the system and you're selling out.
To order your copy of Success Through Education, A Salute to Black Achievement, please send $19.95 check or money order to Career Communications Group, Inc., 729 East Pratt Street, Suite 504, Baltimore, Maryland 21202. For more information, call 410-244-7101. See us on the internet at www.ccgmag.com.
How many people feel that they are getting an accurate representation of their history in school?
I don't really feel, personally, I'm Puerto Rican and black, and I don't feel as though I know enough about my Hispanic side. We don't really get that. And then with my African American side, we study a little bit. and then we're on to something else. I can tell you about European history a lot, but when it comes to African American history, Hispanic history, I mean, I feel like people should learn about everybody's history. I have friends of different races and they don't know about Martin Luther King.
I also go to a predominantly white school, and we really don't focus on African American cultures, Hispanic cultures, or anything like that. During Black History Month, the only thing we did was had to write a essay on 10 black inventors, you know. And we had an African American course, but you know, they just dropped it. So I really don't think that we learn as much about our history as we do about the Europeans.
Long before the days of slavery, we were born to be free. We were kings, and we were queens, ruling our land. But history's been denied to us instead. They lied to us. Tell me, how can this be? How can this be? Oh, teach my history, teach my history. Come on and sing, teach my history, teach my history. I need to know, teach my history, teach. Sing a little bit louder, y'all.
This early African-American inventor is a name we should never forget. Granville T. Woods. He gave us steam boilers, air brakes for cars, a telegraph system for moving trains, and many other devices that helped change the way we live. Many of his inventions were sold to General Electric, Bell Telephone, and Westinghouse Air Brake Company. Woods received his first 2 patents for a steam boiler furnace and a telephone transmitter. Born in Columbus, Ohio during America's infancy, his contributions laid the groundwork for communications and transportation that we enjoy today. Let's give props to this early African-American inventor, Granville T. Woods.
In the ghetto and stuff like that, you don't have no role models, you know. The only role model that you really have is drug dealers, because they have what you expect a role model to have. So I see a drug dealer, you know, with a fancy car and all that stuff. And that's what I want to get out of life. But without, you know, the positive role models and stuff, how else you expect to get it, you know? You need somebody to try to show you the right way to do things and not always the wrong.
I think every young person has a positive role model. I don't think young people do drugs or sell drugs.
Who's your role model? Yes, you.
My mom.
Why?
Because she went through a lot, and I respect her for that. But now she's like changed her life, and I'm proud of her.
We should try to be role models to the younger generation, you know, to try to, you know, help them out so they don't be like us.
Who are you a role model for?
I'm my sister's role model because the way I act toward her is gonna reflect on what she's like when she gets older.
I think we need role models because we need someone to follow. And me personally, I have been through a lot, but I'm still getting through it. But I'm a college student, and it just made me stronger. And I have to owe that all to my mother, so I can really understand what you guys are saying, because she is my role model, and she continues to be, and she has also led me to a higher role model, which is God. And with him, all things are possible.
It was said that we as blacks could not learn to fly, and if you did learn to fly, you didn't have the courage to fight in combat.
My mom always said that I was one of those daring kind of sons, and I would take chances.
The F-16 is the hottest airplane. I've accomplished something that only about 8,000 or 10,000 people in the world that have done. and that's to fly that airplane. That's what makes me the man.
I just want them to see me, to see my face, these wings. They'll know that he can do it, I can do it too.
Although today African American men and women are a force to be reckoned with in the air and even in space, there was a time when discrimination and racism grounded any dreams of flying. It would take the blood, sweat, and tears of pioneers like the Tuskegee Airmen to make those dreams a reality. But when a young William Crockett first joined up with the fledgling unit, he had no idea he would become a mentor, a hero, and a legacy.
I was an A student in math, but I dropped out of junior college being the best math student because I was unable to pay $6 per month tuition. And they placed a poster up in the audit room and said, be a pilot, bombardier, navigator, and earn $245 per month. That got my attention.
While Crockett had stumbled upon his destiny and would climb the ranks from enlisted man to lieutenant colonel, he and the rest of the Tuskegee Airmen faced seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Although as escorts during World War II, they never lost a bomber, it would still take 5 years to be allowed into integrated units. But even while fighting, the Tuskegee Airmen had fewer rights than a prisoner of war.
The German prisoners could still go to the base theater and sit anywhere they want, and blacks were still being roped off. And they could go to the officers' club, and I was denied the privilege of going to the officers' club. Somebody said, well, why did you stay in? Well, I looked outside and didn't see blacks doing much better than I was doing. I felt like what I was doing was important, and I felt like if you did a good job long enough, eventually the system would have to change.
And the system eventually did change. As the country began to win the war against racism, so did the Tuskegee Airmen. Many of these early warriors would go on to high-ranking careers in the military, including the nation's first African-American 4-star general. It was a meeting with General Daniel Chappie James that inspired Colonel Charles Stallworth to pursue both his fighter wings and a law degree.
And I remember him saying about flying F-4s, because he was such a physically large man, that he had told a story about someone asking him how is it he got in the F-4, and he said that he put it on. Made me feel very proud of him.
He came to my school as a guest speaker, and I saw this gentleman. He's a very tall and impressive individual anyway, so that's when I first heard about Tuskegee Airmen, and immediately I said, when I grow up, I'm going to be just like him.
Not only did General Lloyd Newton grow up to be a 3-star general, he also made his own mark on history, becoming the first African American to fly with the prestigious Thunderbirds.
Many folks from the press wanted to come up and talk to me. Said, well, how does it feel to be the first black pilot with the Thunderbirds? And, you just kind of say, I don't know. It just feels good to be a part of the Thunderbirds. But the point that they were trying to get to is that this was another first in our country. And it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling not only being a part of the team, but the fact that I could then have the opportunity to express that to so many others who would have desired to be a part of this team. In other words, be that role model again for young kids.
Joe Newton is my mentor, one of my mentors, and the reason that he is he's the first black Thunderbird. As a matter of fact, he's the first black fighter pilot I ever met. So, and I always wanted to be a fighter pilot, so I obviously latched on to him as, okay, I want to do what he did. I want to be like him.
Although Captain Anthony LeSueur is milestones away from his mentor, as a flight instructor, he already feels the responsibility that goes hand in hand with leadership.
I feel responsible for carrying on the legacy. I had those gentlemen to look up to. Who do the kids in high school now, in college now, who do they have to look up to? Because you can only stay in the Air Force for so long, and then you end up eventually retiring. Who's going to be left? It's going to have to be me.
There were 992 Tuskegee Airmen who flew in over 1,500 missions during World War II.
Sadly enough, The legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen and the trailblazers who have followed has only recently received its just recognition in the history books. But these pioneers know that the true honors come from those whose lives they touch and inspire.
About once every year, some individual walk up to you and state that if it had not been for you, I flew B-24s and B-17s in Italy. If it had not been for you, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you today.
I want to be remembered as someone who helped somebody else along the way, because that was so important to my success and where I am now. There was always someone there to reach back and give me a hand.
To order your copy of Success Through Education, A Salute to Black Achievement, please send 1995 check or money order to Career Communications Group, Inc., 729 East Pratt Street, Suite 504, Baltimore, Maryland 21202. For more information, call 410-244-7101. See us on the internet at www.ccgmag.com.
If you've ever been to the nation's capital, you've seen some of Benjamin Banneker's outstanding work. Before there was a District of Columbia, he was appointed to a three-man team of surveyors named by President George Washington to design the new capital city. He was the first African-American ever to receive a presidential appointment. Banneker took over the project when Major Pierre Charles L'Enfant, chairman of the engineering team, resigned and returned to Paris, taking the plans with him. Banneker is reported to have reproduced the plans from memory. Benjamin Banneker, your work is a monument to the power of perseverance.
Drugs affect my life in so many different ways. And the role models I got where I live at, the drug dealers. I see the slim on the corner making all the money. I want to be like him. Why should I go to school? It affects everything. It affects the way you think.
So it's affected you, right? You're saying, your environment. So how are you going to move past that?
You gotta be a man. You gotta have a strong personality. Be your own man. Don't worry about what everybody else or what they think. Okay, always gonna be somebody out there don't think the same as you or don't like you or something.
5 o'clock in the morning, where you gonna be? Outside on the corner. You better get yourself together while you're waiting on your time right along with your mind.
Martin Luther King once said that until we are able to look beyond the confines of our individual reality and be of some service to the larger community, this is a paraphrase, then we haven't truly understood what it means to be human. Do you understand that? No matter how dire your situation is, okay, there is still the capacity in a human being to reach out and to be of assistance. For me, after 10 years of working with young people, all the blessings that I have, from the book deal that I got, to movie deals, to TV show, to anything, you know what I'm saying? I attribute it all back to the fact that I have been of service to humanity. And to me, there are a few things that are more important than that. You know, this is a bullet wound. This happened to me when I was 15 years old. You know what I'm saying? Someone tried to take my life leaving high school, minding my own business, got yoked up, thrown on the ground. Someone shot me. It was at that point that I really had a change in my life. And at the age of 17 is when I first started working with young people. So, you know, you seek out that mentor that'll help guide you, but also you look beyond the constraints of your personal situation and find a way to support society. Can I get an amen? Amen. Amen.
In 1949, Wesley Brown became the first African-American cadet to graduate from the U.S. Naval Academy. That same year, in a Chicago public housing community, Anthony J. Watson was born. Since the Cabrini Green neighborhood was often called a dead-end street to hopes and dreams, few people realized a future admiral had just been born.
A lot of people like to call this area the projects, you know, and we don't like to call it the projects because, you know, no young people want to feel like they're part of a project. This is a community just like any other community.
Although Cabrini Green may appear a bit worn at the edges, Rear Admiral Watson remembers that at its heart there was pride. Singer Jerry Butler grew up around the corner. Kids went to the now famous Cooley High, and parents, like Watson's mother, stressed academic excellence. At 72, she still works at the same elementary school where she kept a loving eye on her 6 children.
Maybe I'm just old-fashioned, but I don't think it hurts to let a child know that you love them and you care about them. And a child appreciates that. I don't care what anybody says. A child likes to be loved. He likes to be hugged. And he likes to know that he's something special.
Armed with his parents' love, Watson fought against the violence and sometimes hopelessness of inner-city life. With a B average from Lane Technical High School, he won a spot at the prestigious U.S. Naval Academy. But in spite of his solid math and science background, the road from Cabrini Green to Annapolis was difficult.
I've always been challenged by education. When I went off to the Naval Academy, there were a number of people who thought I wouldn't make it at the Naval Academy. And one of those was me, I think. And so from the day I arrived, I pushed myself to ensure that I did make it because I didn't want to go home a failure.
Not only did Watson graduate from the Naval Academy with flying colors, he also launched a decorated career in Navy submarines. At the age of 28, he became one of the youngest lieutenant commanders in the entire Navy. While working his way up to being a commanding officer, Watson was involved in delicate missions from Taiwan to the North Pole. As commanding officer of more than 100 crew members aboard the tight confines of a nuclear submarine, Watson found that his degree in naval science was put to a critical test.
One of the things you learn in the submarine business is that if you were ever interested in science, mathematics, or engineering, that everything you ever wanted to learn and put into practice you get to do on a submarine. Virtually every day, every time you turn a valve and you understand what the expected response is, every time you sit down with classmates on the ship and you go through discussions of thermodynamics or geometry, those things you share with others and teach as well as learn from others how important those elements of our academic background are to what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Today, Rear Admiral Tony Watson is commander of the Navy Recruiting Command, responsible for hiring nearly 60,000 people each year, with a staff of 6,000 and a budget of $320 million. Although during his Navy career, Watson has met 2 U.S. presidents and dignitaries in every corner of the globe, all roads eventually lead back to home.
I don't know if I'm gonna let you come in, Rich. I don't know.
Watson and his siblings have offered to buy their mom a house in the suburbs, but she has chosen to stay in Cabrini Green, the neighborhood that nurtured an admiral.
A friend of mine once said to me that it's not in spite of the fact that you grew up in Cabrini Green that you made it. It's because you grew up in Cabrini Green that you made it. That strength that was given to me by having to deal with that adversity growing up in a fairly tough environment helped make me strong. Helped make me strong enough to overcome any of the odds that were before me.
When it comes to breaking the glass ceiling and proving that women can hold any position within the armed services, Major General Marcelite Jordan Harris is a sister to watch. During her 30-year Air Force career, she has been a first in many positions, including the first female director of maintenance for the U.S. Air Force. Based at the Pentagon, she heads one of the largest operations in the Air Force. She manages 125,000 people and is accountable for aerospace weapons worth more than $260 billion. A graduate of Spelman College and the University of Maryland, she balances her role as general and a mother as she serves her country. Major General Marcelite Jordan Harris, we salute you. You're going to George Washington University, which is one of the best colleges in the country. What can you speak on about the importance of that to a person that's maybe thinking about dropping out of school or isn't doing very well in school?
Okay, first of all, as you can see, I don't look like a nerd, and I am down, and I still like the music and everything, but it's nothing wrong with being smart too. It's nothing wrong with that, and it's just going to make you a better person, and you might be sitting where he is one day talking to a group of kids. and making someone's life better. And I know that I can, what I'm aspiring to do with my life is become a pediatrician, but I'm studying psychology. And I know that I love kids and I want to, give back. I really do. And I know that I like the finer things in life, and I know I only want those things through hard work and the education that's just there. And it's not even the fact that I know that I'm going to get paid or anything, but you should want to better yourself, and you owe it to yourself. You really do. You owe it to yourself to get all that you can out of this world. And that's why I'm pushing myself as hard as I am. And I will continue doing that. And I hope that you all can do the same, and I can maybe see you as George Washington.
Anybody ever have any experiences with stereotypes or being stereotyped and being hurt by that? Or yes, sir. You stand up.
Stand up.
You beautiful boy in your purple. I love you. You love me. I'm sorry.
I hang around a lot of people that are not my age, and people will stereotype you and think that you're a certain type of person because you hang around people. They will judge you by your environment and not by the person that you really are. I mean, I want people to see me as the way that I carry myself, the type of person that I am. I'm a Christian. There's a certain way about me that I do things. That's how I want someone to see me. I don't want someone to see me as the people who I might be around because I'm an individual.
How about any other examples of racism at school? Anybody experienced that?
We have a math teacher, and he believes that since we're female that we're not good at math, and so therefore he puts us down and stuff, and he makes us feel bad.
So that definitely doesn't help your issue about self-esteem. But you're going to listen to all these things folks told you. You're never going to believe this teacher again, right? All right. Come on.
My first experience with racism was at University of Michigan. I had to take a computer class. It was my second level computer class. Upon entering that class, the teacher wanted to insist that, number one, I wasn't enrolled in the class, and number two, I didn't belong in the class. I needed to be at home rather than at school trying to earn a degree.
Although Keila Walton had been a straight-A student in high school and voted the most likely to succeed, that first bitter taste of racism was a hard blow to her confidence.
Those teachers that don't care, they have just cheated you out of 4 months of knowledge. So their not caring is really hurting you.
But Walton's father, an assembly worker at General Motors, had always taught his children that they were destined for a great future.
As a matter of fact, my father would always tell his friends that one day my daughter's going to be your boss.
And today, that prediction has come true. With a degree in computer science and an MBA, Walton's best revenge against racism has been success. As manager of the Advanced Development Engine Test Lab at General Motors, fast, sleek cars are all in a day's work for Keila Walton. She and her team of 35 engineers, technicians, and skilled labor personnel are responsible for testing state-of-the-art engines. GM cars have been a way of life for as long as she can remember.
GM has been a family tradition. My father worked for General Motors, his brothers worked for General Motors, my sister and brother worked for General Motors, and it's been a family tradition. As a co-op student, I had a project and I had to go into the plant, and it was my first experience on the job going into the plant, and my father was just so proud. And that's always done my heart very well, to have my parents very proud of me. That's amazing, isn't it? And you know who does that kind of work? A computer engineer.
While both family and colleagues are proud of Walton's accomplishments, she knows that the numbers of women and minorities in her field are still all too scarce. During her off hours, Walton is helping to increase those numbers by sharing the wonders of math and science with young students.
They see the teachers, and we all grow up wanting to be a teacher, but they really don't get an opportunity to go into an engineering environment and see what an engineer really does.
Although Walton's father passed away in 1987, she carries on his legacy at work and at home, where she gives her children the love and support that was crucial to her own success.
Yeah, I think about my father all the time. I want to tell him, thank you for seeing me through all of this, and I know that you're very proud of me, but it's really all of his and my mother's doing to get me as far as I've come.
Join Malik Yoba in Success Through Education, a salute to Black achievement. It's a show you won't want to miss.
There's nothing like knowledge. Knowledge is indeed power.
Join Malik Yoba of New York Undercover in a candid discussion with students about peer pressure, self-esteem, and issues they face every day. You'll also hear from people who have overcome struggles and are succeeding in technical fields. Success Through Education, a salute to Black achievement. It's a show you can't afford to miss.
I thought that, like anybody else in this room, as a young person, that I was never going to have a baby. That it couldn't ever happen to me. But as it turns out, by me being careless, and my actions, it happened anyway. So, stop doing the actions and not thinking about what you're doing.
What about the students, young people's fear of AIDS? Do you think that AIDS has changed behavior among your peers?
You have to use your mind. You have to realize that those 2 minutes of pleasure cause you a lifetime of pain, and it's not worth it.
If you don't think AIDS could happen to you, look at people like Magic Johnson. Look at Eazy-E. They didn't think it would happen to them, but they did, and Eazy-E is dead. And if you want to end up like him, then keep on doing what you're doing. But if you want to have a life and a future and go somewhere, then think about what you're doing and what you're doing to others.
It's real important to look at our behavior and see what type of activities we're involved in, what type of moves we make. And when I hear you saying things like, I want to drop out of school at 10 years old, I'm cursing my teacher out, it's like my life has been lived in vain unless I can be of assistance.
Education.
Look at that. Yes.
Living in a world like this one, it's hard to feel you can change it. Living in a world like this one, it's hard to feel you can change it, but we must try. Dig into your life, build yourself a dream, let your mind and spirit run free. Open your heart to a stranger. No one will hurt you. Here you will grow like a flower with the rain, in a safe space, no pain.